Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today. Welcome to episode, I think, don't trust my math, Cog just watched me do it in real time, episode 260 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. As always, I'm joined by man dressed for the occasion, like this shirt, Lord Cognito. How are you doing today, good sir?
For those that let's move forward on this year, man. Well, I'm doing good, but just I'm in the hamster wheel. I'm just each day, just what we got to do, what I got to get through. Yeah, what is priority, and just trucking along. If I survive this week, it will be a major accomplishment.
Yeah, I agree. For those who don't know, this is our holiday recording, so the episodes you're listening to this week and next week are stashed ones. We're recording this on December 9th. How about that? So greetings from the past. Hope you're doing well. Everyone's enjoying their holiday season, maybe some time off. But Cog and I are currently in the hamster wheel. We both have 6 shows this week to do. I did Someone's Not on Monday. I just recorded with Jake and Skill Up.
Nice.
We're doing this.
Yep.
We have another holiday DD.
Yep.
Then we have a regular DD.
Yep.
And then we have Brad's Game of the Year episode.
Yes.
For Someone's Dying at the end of the week. I'm like fuck. And to be fair, Dustin gave us the warning well in advance, but
he did.
We were on the wheel.
Bro.
There was no stopping that wheel, and here we are crunching it down at the end of the deadline.
Yes, throw that. Plus, I got 2 Lords After Darks, 2 extra ILPs, 2 events that I already went to. This week, every day, I'm like, okay, we in the grind, baby. I see what it is. We gonna get through. We got a lot of fun stuff. I'm actually excited about this one, though.
Yeah. What we're doing today, ladies and gentlemen, is what we usually like to do around the holiday period. We like to look at the best and the worst of Xbox in their calendar year. Last year, we kind of defined it. I was looking at our catalog because every time we get ready for the holiday episodes, I like to just look back at our whole year, see how the general vibe of the episodes were, and then see how we rounded out last year. Last year's episode was labeled something along the lines of Xbox exits 2024 in a blaze of glory, and it's Satya Nadella talking about like AI and exclusives and all that fun stuff, which really teed up a very eventful 2025. Now, we're going to try to keep this conversation as objective as we can, but we're going to try to lay out what Xbox did right this year. Pregnant pause for you. And then what they did wrong. So, yeah, it's going to be an eventful one. It's going to be an interesting one, but we want to take a nice holistic view of Xbox as a brand. And then, of course, as many of you know, tradition dictates the following episode will be looking ahead, teeing up Xbox's 2026, what to expect from the brand, because don't take our word for it when we make predictions, because you just never know how things are going to go. Every year they continue to surprise, but
yes,
Tog, there's no real structure to this episode because we don't have our write-ins. We don't do a script for this type of stuff. It's really just kind of where you want to begin this conversation, right? Like what's top of mind? Xbox 2025. It's going to be really hard not to get extremely critical off the rip here, but what do you think of top of mind when you define the brand for this year?
I mean, from a general standpoint, massive transition. You know what I'm saying? I just look at them as a massive, brand that is going through this chameleon change, and maybe the way they're going about handling it has been a bit interesting. But I kind of, for the way I approached this, I kind of had it like, I had 5 things from a positive standpoint that I felt, okay, they did really good here. Then I had 5 things that I'm like, man, these were really documented as inflection points to really work on and did tremendous damage. So I guess for me, I could start off with the good as far as from my lowest to high. I kind of ranked them in that way, what I'm saying? Yeah. But again, not putting pressure on you to do the same way.
Yeah, we're going in different ways here.
Yeah. So the laws of the positive thing for me that I felt was kind of like the commitment to ID at Xbox and play anywhere. And the reason why I said ID at Xbox specifically is because I felt like the discoverability of some of these indie games that they've put in the service has been really cool. And I felt like the quality bar on the indie scene has been really good. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to play games like, the Altars, and Ball Pit, and all these things, these little things that come out and they ended up hitting. And I'm like, man, this is so cool, because of obviously Game Pass, or just even if they weren't in Game Pass, just that discoverability. So you got that. And then I've been very hard on them on Play Anywhere. And I have to admit, when I saw the partner showcase, and it was like every game here is going to be in Play Anywhere, right? And I'm like, okay, you see that, you see the commitment. And I did like that, I think as of today, we got like a, Metal Gear Solid is now in the service. And I think the Silent Hill 2 is in the Play Anywhere service. And to me, if you're going to scream from the rooftops, this is an Xbox, all this other stuff, then I want to see that commitment to it. So I'm starting to see are they fully there? Are there still holes? Yes. But I can't go in if I see improvement. It's like a kid that was failing a subject and I'm like, all right, now you got it passed. You got to be buying this now. Okay. You come along. So that was one of my, where I wanted to start as far as like, my on the positive of the lowest end, and I got other stuff that we could talk about. But where you want to go with this?
I think for me, it is the steady games output. It's not something I want to overly pat them on the back for because it's to be expected, but we've been here all generation doing this. And obviously the Xbox One gen kind of speaks for itself, particularly the back half. And it's been a struggle for this company to get games out steadily. It just really has. And at least now, these last 3 years, there's been something pretty steadily flowing through this ecosystem to play. It was a bit of a blast at the end of the year. We always talked about how it was a little strange with Ninja Gaiden 4, Outer Worlds 2, Keeper, all kind of stacked upon each other. But I like that there are things to play. And it's not just like people trying to strong arm, like, well, there's Game Pass. And that, like, when you get like the day one deals, like, that's technically an exclusive, which I said many times because I'm like it just feels like that it does have that association, but it's not the same as like this is a game Xbox made. But these last few years, they've done a really good job getting stuff out the door. I haven't loved everything. It was looking a little spooky to open the year because South of Midnight was all right. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. Just was a little underwhelming for how long we had waited for that one. Avowed, I've spoken about at length. I won't beat the dead horse on that one. Doom the Dark Ages was solid, but it was one of those things where it felt it was time to lay it down and go look at something else. Like, it was not as climactic as Doom Eternal. So I was a little bit in the middle on everything. And then Oblivion Remastered was kind of this, I was so excited for it. And then it arrived and it kind of underdelivered in its technical state, which made it very difficult for me to play, which I've never really experienced up until that point. So it was a weird first half, but the second half with things like Grounded 2, Outer Worlds 2, Ninja Gaiden 4, really kind of came in the clutch. But as you just heard me say there, that's a ton of games from one publisher. And I do appreciate that they're still putting out interesting stuff, different stuff. Ninja Gaiden 4 is probably the game I'll always celebrate most from them this generation because, while it's definitely a very flawed game, I appreciate the willingness to make those kind of dream partnerships happen. That is what I always imagined Xbox could do with the slew of IP they own or have been deeply involved in. I've always associated Ninja Gaiden with Xbox, and I really love how, as they're getting out these games steadily, I hope they don't lose that edge of wanting to make these cool things happen, where it's just such a victory story of like the passing of the torch to like the perfect developer, the new young talent stepping in, kind of doing this, even though Platinum's been around for a long time. It was kind of like their first game again in a lot of ways, right? Like they had lost everyone who defined them. And now you have this new youthful energy carrying the torch. And, they made their mistakes, but it feels like they can learn from this and do something really great with the Ninja Gaiden franchise. And then Koei Tecmo, who I think is just like, they always just nail it for me. Just kind of carrying the torch, not carrying the torch, sorry, but kind of guiding them, ushering them into this new era. And you could see elements of both their development styles in this game. So I just really like the steady output of games and then the partnerships that they've made happen. Those kind of two come together for me where it's like, we have a lot of problems with Xbox. I'll bitch up a storm this episode, no doubt about it. But I like that we have moved on from the where's the games, bro conversation. It's, I mean, and with how many companies they own, you would assume that would be the case, which is why I said I don't want to overly pat them on the back. But it has been a problem for the brand for what feels like almost a decade. And they have finally solved it. You can go to Xbox, I guess, as a publisher now rather than like their platform, and just know they're going to be making games. And that's what makes their summer showcases and developer directs really interesting, because they have their hands in a ton of cookie jars. So love the steady output. Very happy about that. It's not a concern. And they're spreading it out more. First half of the year was pretty full. Back half of the year was pretty full. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. No, I agree with that. Doubling down on my list as far as, again, keeping it positive for me. As a person who historically, like, for example, obviously, I don't know if you got the news that the great Harada will be stepping down, right?
Yeah.
So, like,
I'm a person right away. You sent it to me, and I was like, bro. Made me sad to read that.
It's sad to read, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, these things will happen. But the reason why I bring Harada up is that, you know, he's the reason I solely brought a PlayStation, right? I saw Tekken on System 11 arcade board, and I'm like, man, this is exactly what it was. So the reason why I bring this up in an Xbox conversation is because I remember, you know, for a while, and Tekken was not hitting the platform, you know what I'm saying, kind of thing. And what they've done over the years, up especially with this year, is they've finally changed that narrative as far as like Japanese games, and especially like most major third-party games no longer missing the platform. Like, we would always have discussion. Now, is it perfect? Is it like, oh my God, you know, it's 1-to-1 on everything minus an exclusivity or anything like that? No, but it is refreshing to not have to. I remember having Xbox, One, and Street Fighter V is out on the platform. You know, say it's exclusive to PlayStation. You know, what was going on, it was always a subject of, you don't have that, you don't have Final Fantasy, you don't have Persona, you don't have it was a ton of games. So just to see them kind of crack that code, especially Square, I think the Square one was huge for that wall to come down. Final Fantasy VII remake, and now we got Octopath Traveler 0. Like, I'm not even thinking about, like, okay, it's coming to the platform. It's there. Yeah. And then obviously anything that was exclusive seems to be now coming over, whether it be the Silent Hill games, the Wukong game, Personas and stuff like that. So I definitely like that it's no longer the big issue, elephant in the room that used to be. So that was my thing for that.
Yeah, the second-class citizen experience, you could argue, is still there, but at least the games are here. So if you own an Xbox, you at least know you can look forward to playing most of the stuff coming out, unless there's been a little, cash getting tossed around here. Another gimme I'll hand their way before I get into some higher level stuff. One of them, I look at my list here. It is a little bit backhanded compliment, but it still is in the positives. But this one is strictly positive. They still continue to be the king of showcases. Even on their low year, 2025 for their summer showcase was considered a low year. And I think that says a lot when you're low year, like no one's freaking out. Like, it was a very calm reaction to an otherwise, it was a decent showcase, right? Like, not the most memorable one they've put on, but like, it was good. And I think they created realistic expectations around it, but also just like went, this is fine. But they've delivered so heavily these last 3 years in the terms of showcases and formatting that it's like, it's fine if they don't just hit a home run every single time. But that combined with Developer Direct really has me completely won over. I think Developer Direct is my favorite showcase every year. I look forward to starting the year. Like, it sets the tone. It's kind of got its own window. I like that it's smaller, as in, like, there's a number you can count on your hand for the amount of games here. I think we always think about, we're recording this before the Game Awards, and no doubt there will be dozens and dozens of games there. And you kind of get hit with a tidal wave of them. And because of that, you have those moments after the showcases where you go, oh yeah, I saw that. That looked good too. And I think that's a weird feeling to have at times when you think about it and go, yeah, like, I just saw a bunch of cool stuff. And even the great stuff I saw, it's hard for it to stick. And I love that Developer Direct thrives in this pocket of less is more. They're not singular game deep dives, but like each game gets a spotlight in there. And it's almost becoming, like, in my opinion, like a privilege to be on there. Like, who's the mystery game is always the big question. Who is showing up? And I think whoever that is, it's like a big deal. Is it on the level of a Nintendo Direct or something like that? Not quite yet, but it's really like their format. It feels like them. It feels right. It feels exciting. They're broad enough where it feels like you don't have to just be an Xbox owner to enjoy. And so I just think that format and that, like, prioritization on getting great showcase content because they're getting great stuff for their platform has been really exciting because I go into even things like their partner preview, which we talked about earlier this year. And it's like, oh, let's see what this is. And that third party showcase was, I thought, awesome. It had some shadow drops in there and whatnot. Like even their quote lowlights are really good compared to the rest of the industry. I think they don't get enough credit for that. Like there's anything on this list of positives I would emphasize, like they deserve a lot more positive attention for. No doubt it can't outweigh everything they've done wrong this year, but it's definitely their showcase, their formats, their pacing, the focus, the way they bring attention to these games, their selection of them. Like, Expedition 33 was in this year's Developer Direct, like pretty great pick. Like they kind of just knew like this is going to be a big one. And so as they've gone beyond the first party and started to bring in third party, they've made it really interesting. So just really happy with that format. I hope they never give it up because it feels like it took forever. We talked about Xbox On
inside Xbox days. I came from that. Woo!
Yeah, like we talked about that pretty extensively, and it's been rough out here, man. Like these Xbox showcases. I think back to the I Did Xbox cross Twitch 3-hour showcases that this was before Xbox really started to crumble before our eyes, where I fucking laid into them. I was like, what is this weird influencer driven indie promotion shit? Like that just like no one looks like they want to be there. And the developers' games are getting buried because it's more about the internet personality. So I'm glad they took that kind of feedback and just ran away from that stuff and just focused on the devs. I think it's a really good format. It's what people care about. It has a level of authenticity to it. It's great. So that's definitely the thing I am most positive about when it comes to Xbox.
No, I agree. I think that I look forward to their showcases, especially Developer Direct. I 100% agree. Got a couple more. Definitely want to give flowers. Obviously, this is the Black Rock's going to get some love here. You know what I'm saying? The continued rise of Obsidian as their most consistent and trusted developer, I feel. And, you launch, Avowed as a new IP. I think that's a big deal. You know what I mean? Obviously, we know some people didn't like it, but at the end of the day, I felt the foundation was really great for the future. And I really liked, the fact that Grounded 2 kind of came out of nowhere, and, what I liked is they put it in preview, they're taking the feedback, pushing with the multi-platform approach. And I honestly think that's their probably, if you want to low key, might be their biggest IP. Low key, it's Grounded. I can only comment on the engagement when we do a video or something like that. And we put up Grounded content, it goes through the roof, whether it be on the website or how to, or whether it be just, hey, here's new information on it. We spoke to the developers and people, oh my God, they have buggies. Oh my God, this is what we wanted. Like it's insane. The Grounded community. I severely underestimated that game. And to see that. And then obviously, to me, Outer Worlds 2 was almost that return to form.
Yeah.
For the RPG purists, right? Exactly. Like for guys that love Obsidian to be Obsidian and may not have been enthralled with Avowed, right?
Who are you talking about?
Just some guys. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, man, like it's just so refreshing to see, okay, things matter here. It really got back to the essence, and to hear them talk about it. They interview Adler and those guys, and they say, yeah, we want to get back to what you guys love us for, and mentioning New Vegas and stuff. I'm like, okay, you understand the assignment. You are self-aware, and hey, you know what? We're a AA shop. We can pitch these things because, one, we don't want to get closed. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to get shut down. And this is what we're capable of. And I think it's something where the studio knows its identity, right? And what they want to be. So salute to them and the Black Rock. Tremendous year. Once again, almost carrying. I mean, Xbox had a full year. So not like it was like in 2021 or 2 when it was like they had to carry them on their back. You know what I'm saying? But that's been their best investment. This year was proof of it. They deserve a break, even though they got things cooking. I don't know if you saw with this.
Yeah, I don't think they're really taking much of a break. They're like, here's big update for Avowed. Here's the turn-based mode for Pillars. Now, no doubt there's going to be Outer Worlds 2 DLC next year. Like, they're not really fading away like I think we all kind of expected, which I'm fine with. I mean, I always am excited for what they're doing, but I think it'll be a little bit before we get their next big thing, but who knows?
You saw your man Tim K is back.
Yeah. Ooh. I don't think it's for Fallout though.
He did say that. He did allude that it's not what you think it is.
He literally said you're not gonna guess, and a lot of people still went like it's Fallout, and I was like, look, guys, like I made a video about it. I broke it all down. I was like, look, I want it to be that. I truly do, especially after I said truly after the Outer Worlds 2, nothing would make me happier. But I just don't think they're doing it. I think they are being very staunch and defiant in a way where they are planting their flag saying we're focusing on our IP. And the thing with Tim Kaine coming back full time that's most interesting is it has to be something. I think for him to be out of the game for so long, remaining semi-retired, mainly consulting, and then coming back in, I get why many of us immediately went, oh, it's got to be Fallout, because he talks about that the most. But he also talks about Arcanum a ton. He talks about his time at Troika a ton. My guess is that there is a new IP there that is functioning as this gravitational pull for the team because they brought in the lead writer from New Vegas in. Sawyer's still there. Fergus Urquhart's still there. Now Tim Kaine's back. Leonard Boyarski's still there. I do think
Black Rock Gang.
It is a waste that all of these people are here and they're not going to do Fallout because it just really is like, guys, like we have limited time on this earth. What are we doing here? But I also respect that there's something there that's pulling all of them in. And I hope it's as great as it sounds. But yeah, Tim Kaine being back full time is like a real uplift. I think in the public eye, I feel I saw it happen in real time. I'm curious if you experienced the same thing. Suddenly the takes on Obsidian were real positive.
Yeah. I peeped that.
They were real positive.
Real positive.
Yeah. Yes. And I was like, really? I suddenly I could not have a level of nuanced type of conversation with Obsidian without being bombarded with like, they fucking suck now. They're has-beens. Like, and I get it, dude. I'm one of the main people who was really disappointed with Avowed, but like it was one game. And it's like suddenly Tim Kaine's there. It's like, oh, yeah, dude, give him Fallout now. And I agree because that's like one of the fathers of Fallout. But
oh, hell yeah, that is default.
The tune changed very quickly.
Very quick. That's essence. So man, I agree. Quick to see. Good to see. Let's see what's going on. What else you got?
What else I have here? This is the backhanded one because I'll end on an actual positive note because I only have 4 positives written down here.
You good?
Fallout 5 getting greenlit. I know it was in the wave of a lot of crazy shit going on involving studio cancellations and whatnot. And it is stupidly long overdue. I could go on, but I think it is a good thing that they finally recognize that this is something they should do. Not just because I am a huge Fallout fan, but look, man, I do believe, and it is a gut feeling above all else, to be clear. There's no like analysis here, but I do think some of Xbox's biggest problems could have been avoided if they were more proactive about getting these types of projects greenlit. The counter argument to this will always be, well, these devs want to make what these devs want to make, creative freedom, et cetera, et cetera. And I get that, but they're also people working in the entertainment business, these developers. And while they're artists, they also understand there is a business need. Like there has to be a desire for a thing for them to make it, to necessitate that budget. That's why new IP, especially nowadays, is very hard to get across the board. I say all of this because Fallout 5 is one of those very few games that I think amongst all of the IP that Xbox inherited should have been greenlit almost instantaneously. It is a remarkable failure that when you had Obsidian under your roof and Bethesda under your roof, that there was not a potential let's make New Vegas 2 happen sort of conversation. Not like let's feel it out. Jeff Grubb's going to float a rumor out here and that's going to be it for 3 years. This should have been something that they expedited heavily. With that said, the fact that we're finally here is great because these are the things that we think Xbox has been sitting on that we're hoping they get up and start doing. Obviously, they have a lot of IP, and Fallout is one of those that's very popular right now, especially as this episode's going out, the show's going on, and it's profitable. And it feels very foolish to only have, even if 76 is doing well, just that sitting there. That there should be more single player Fallout ready to go. I think they were a little too safe with this one, among many other things. And I think because of that, the profit margins weren't looking nice because they were just focused on, I think, being the cool uncle, as Cog and I have talked about.
Yeah, we'll discuss
and in that. In that, it kind of slid away further and further, and game development takes a while, where I get why it slid this far. It's just a little frustrating because we could be at the point now where they're getting ready to show it at the right time. Like Fallout's bigger than it's ever been. Nonetheless, though, again, that's why I said it's a little bit of a backhanded compliment, but I'm happy to see even if it was in light of very terrible news this year that we'll talk about, that Fallout 5 is happening, and it should be happening sooner rather than later, which is good. And more Fallout, I think, is a good thing. They're not going to oversaturate it, because I just think like that's impossible at this point with the way Bethesda handles the IP, but getting it out a little bit sooner is good. So happy to hear that.
No doubt. My last two is kind of quick hitters. One is a retread of what you said earlier, and the other one is I kind of want to, even though I'm going to talk about this later about their over aggressiveness with pivoting, I will give them some credit as far as clairvoyance in terms of, okay, you know, seeing from a person who feels what they're doing is very scary to me, you know, with this extremely transition, to see the early positive data, not even positive, like early data now, like year to date data on like a Forza Horizon 5 going to a PlayStation, right? And you go, okay, you know, make me take a step back. Let me rethink things. And then also, obviously, you know, influencing to some extent PlayStation, where you go, you know what, that audience might like our Helldivers too. Right. And to me, as much as I think it's a scary time and I've never seen this kind of stuff before, if you show me information, you show me data, you show me some trends, you show me sales, right, then I'm like, okay, you know, it's more likely that, okay, I see what you're trying to do. Not saying that everything that's gone over has been a success. I'm not doing that, but I do see some of the major stuff. And then obviously, you know what I mean? They still have Switch and stuff like that. So a little bit of clairvoyance there. We'll see how it continues with other things, right? And then the last one that you already touched on first, which I think is the number one thing for me, is the most important things. I'm here for the games, right? So what you said earlier, this is the most consistent output of video games from them, first party, third party, if you want to count the Ninja Gaiden situation, but they did birth that baby. You may not say it's a foster child or whatever it is. It was, you know, it was delivered. Phil was in the delivery room. I know people don't like it, but your boy was there. But at the end of the day, you know, like, I just care about games. And this is the most games I've ever played on this platform in 2025 and the most output. You know, now granted, it was one of them years where I felt like a lot of stuff was just solid. Didn't have nothing like, oh my God, super crazy. Like I would consider like an Indiana Jones, stuff like that.
Yeah, not like a heavy hitter.
Right, right. It was just like, okay, we got, you know, a couple singles, a double here, single, double here, nothing like that. Now,
contact baseball, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, just old school National League baseball. Let's just move it around. Let's bump people over. Let's get the runs in. You know what I'm saying? Because it's been a while. With that their main thing, this is a team from a game standpoint, or historically the offense, whatever, or the offensive minded team.
Yeah.
Exactly. So to see that, and then obviously I do count, as a person who plays primarily on the platform, I do count Game Pass, and they had a massive year, bro. And the thing I have to give credit, like the shirt I'm wearing is literally something I saw debut on their stage and say, hey, this is going to be a Game Pass. And I'm like, what? That looks like a Game of the Year contender. To have a Hollow Knight, a Game of the Year contender. To have a Blueprints, a Game of the Year. Like, these are major curated discoverability titles into your service that I'm like, okay, I got to give you that. So yeah, from a game standpoint, that's probably the most positive I will say. And then I have other things to say.
Okay, I'll wrap us up then, because I only have one more thing. This was one that you sent to me fresh before our episode here, and I told you right then and there, I was like, I'm adding that to my list. They are rethinking Call of Duty a little bit, just a little bit here. They write, our strategy going forward is changing. We will no longer do back-to-back releases of Modern Warfare or Black Ops games. The reasons are many, but the main one is to ensure we provide an absolutely unique experience each and every year. We will drive innovation that is meaningful, not incremental. While we aren't sharing those plans today, we look forward to doing so when the time is right. Obviously, I am a major fucking skeptic on Call of Duty, especially because the last two have been awful. But for them to come out and say this is a pretty big challenge to themselves, because, I mean, no back-to-back Black Ops or Modern Warfare, that means there is no safety net right now. Like, they've got to come up with something technically for their studios every 3 years and like build that out. That's going to be tough, I think. But at least on paper, that sounds appealing to me, you know, because like I mentioned in Black Ops 7, when I did my, I put in quotes, review of it, it feels so much like they didn't want to make a Call of Duty game, but they were like, we have to make the next Black Ops. And I mean, that part of the Call of Duty franchise, we talked about it a little bit as well, Cog, that it was so exciting when it was announced because it was this perfect middle ground. Like it was enough in the future to have like modern weapons and technology, but far back enough to kind of feel old school while also being in this really unique pocket of like when Black Ops 1 was first revealed, no one really was like, what's a Black Op? Like, what is that? You know? And that was, at least for me, like I was in high school. So what the fuck did I know? But I was like, oh, this shit's cool. This is different. So I hope this leads to them finding those more unique pockets, creating a new feel for it, because I do think they got really comfortable. Like Modern Warfare has been its thing for a while, and it will always be its thing. Black Ops has been its thing for a while. But I do think, of course, World War II as well. But I do think missing these things helps the brand a lot, and they have recognized that finally. So while this is more of an Activision decision, I know it falls under the Xbox banner. And if this is part of some of the changes they're making with Call of Duty, I think this reads to me as a positive one. It all depends on how it plays out, of course. But again, I look at that and go, I can get down for Call of Duty most years if you're kind of trying something new and different. The question is like what's the naming convention going to be? Because that, again, this is a major shakeup here. When they started to go into that random bag of like Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare, people hated that shit. Ghosts. But, Ghost has had a little bit of revisionist history done on it now because of Black Ops 7. People are like, it actually wasn't that bad. Which I was talking to Actman about that. I thought it was funny because that's how bad Black Ops 7 was. So I think maybe now they see the doors open to be like, let's do these spin-off feeling Call of Duty games. And I think that'll stoke some interest. So I'm keen to see what they do here, but I do view that as a positive. In light of two really bad Call of Duties in the last 3 years and one pretty good one, I do appreciate that they are rethinking parts of the strategy.
So on that note, now that I can get into what the worst things about
feeling
Xbox.
eh? Yeah, go
feeling
ahead.
critical now. Feeling critical. I'm gonna actually change my order because I want to add on, since we right on subject with Call of Duty, the breaking news or what happened. I agree with you. I think creatively that is a good thing, but I do want to give another angle to it, which is this is to me a byproduct of the miscalculation of them realizing how Call of Duty, especially if it's not good, right? You can cannibalize sales with the Game Pass thing. And I feel like, yes, they got away with Black Ops 6. It was great. It was, best-selling game in 2024 when you have a good quality game, for sure. But this to me is an indicator, okay, when you flop, if you put out a bad product, right? And in a competitive space where you have a Battlefield, you have a Arc Raiders and stuff like that. And let's be honest, like I was on record for saying when the 4 games come into PlayStation, the first 4 games come to PlayStation was announced, I said, okay, party's over. Game Pass experiment done. We're a publisher and we're going to remove that. At the time, they did not, right? And they said, this is what it means to it. But we have since then had an alteration of the tiers, right? And now Game Pass, Call of Duty is only in that top tier. So to me, what it says is, what it also says is Black Ops flopped bad, right? So if you have a bad Call of Duty,
it up,
on top of you've already made this decision where you're putting in this service on a platform that is being cannibalized, right? This is something to be serious. And then here's the thing, like next year, you would normally drop November, but someone's in your spot, right? So the reason why I'm saying it's a bad because Call of Duty is extremely important to them. They acquired ABK for this, right? So I think there's a part that I think there is a self-admission of like, we acquired this, but like, we have to be very careful with what we do with this because we depend on this as a money man. And they really can't afford to be like, hey, we're going to skip a year. Yeah, we can say, hey, we're going to alternate. You're going to get red versus blue 1 year. Black Ops 1 year, Battlefield for another year. But it's just something to mind. So I'm just going to add. This is fresh off the presses. It was something I'm like, okay, I wonder how much regret they have for sticking with it in Game Pass. I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a level of that. That was, remember, that was like a to the wire. I think it was August we got the confirmation from Sarah Bond, but you and I went back and forth on Duke for months about will they, won't they, and it felt pivotal. at that point, because we were a year off of, I mean, we saw the exclusives moving over to platforms. It wasn't like complete floodgates open at that point. And we thought Starfield, as the biggest day one Game Pass game, was a little bit spooky for them. It didn't move the needle the way it should have, even though it was a very successful game. And so it was like, it has to be Call of Duty, but can they do Call of Duty? And we said that that's a big fork in the road, and they went for it because they, I think, believed it might push something for Game Pass over the needle. And I think it's a safe assumption based on the numbers we've seen from
Steam
Bloomberg
charts.
that the Steam charts, everything, that they have hurt that base. At the wrong time, because it's, I guess, one thing if you hurt the base, but there's no Battlefield 6 and no Arc Raiders, but you hurt the base and they had somewhere else to go. That was really good. That's it.
And when you got the casual guy that's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not. I know
they're not like us. Yeah, they have no loyalty.
They're like, all my homies are playing this. Yeah. We're Arc Raiding, bro. We're Battlefield. Like, that's scary. And that's when you see, the chick in the arm, and we talked about it in prior Dukes, like the champ has been dropped or he's up against the ropes. He's wild. Like, you got to be careful. So when you put out as of recording today, a statement like, hey, we're reevaluating our quality, that thing, and that spells to me as corporate speak, you severely undersold. Yeah. And the way you shepherd you're the steward of this, you got to be careful.
Yeah. And it's anecdotal, but I saw a couple of like my friends from high school that like COD bros through and through. And I saw them at the store. I was talking to them. They're like, yeah, we've been playing Arc Raiders, bro. Like, they no mention of Call of Duty. And I was like, it's just like two people. But I'm like, interesting. Like, it was a little bit, there was a brief flicker in my brain of like, oh, they know what that is.
Yes, bro. Yeah. That's what's surprising.
Like, I'm getting them.
Bro, I got casual friends just like that. Yo, when you getting on that Arc Raiders card, I'm like, since when? How did you even know about it? You're a COD dude, or you're a this. I'm seeing Arc Raiders in that conversation. I'm like, yo, it's real. It's real. So yeah, good call out on that for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
What you got?
Where do I begin?
With your lengthy list.
I think I'm going to start off with the "we know better than you" marketing speak. I think if there's anything that really, like, I feel my stomach turn when I see it. I mean, there's been a lot of that this year, I fear, but it really is the "we get it, you don't" style of communicating to their audience that it's been in brief flashes, but it really just, it's what I think of when I think of this year, like this sort of clairvoyant, we understand, you'll come around. I'm actually not talking about hardware here. I'm really talking about taglines like, this is how we play now after you up the price on Game Pass. I'm like, that's insulting to your customer base. That's a level of defiance that's not bold in the way you probably think it is when you're talking about it internally. Like, it's a statement. We're planting our flag. Like, this is how we play. Like, we're changing. We're the force of change. I get it, because that's probably convincing on the inside, but the reality is outside your walls, things are operating a lot differently. And it's like turning into, well, that's how you play, but not really many of us. Right. Obviously, there's key quotes. One of them is, exclusives are antiquated. I really struggle to believe that, but it's this marketing speak or corporate speak that's trying to bend the industry toward them, rather at the same time them posing themselves as if we're bending our business toward the industry and where it's going. And I think those two don't get in bed together. It's like one or the other. And so I think this kind of proposal and communication with their audience of like, we have it figured out, is a really bad approach. Not just because, I don't like it, but I think it's not showing. And this is something we've talked about before. Things like Play Anywhere are fantastic. That partner preview was also great because it pushed Play Anywhere forward a little bit more. Like, all these games are going to be Play Anywhere. Awesome. Like, you see it's becoming more and more of a tagline for them, right? The problem is with these types of things that Xbox has that are really good is it's like the community, people like you and I, kind of have to bargain with the gamers coming in and listening to us to be like, here's why it's actually good. But you probably don't know that because they don't push it enough, or the games that you're playing don't support it. It's inconsistent. Obviously, one of our best examples is sort of what happened with Square Enix, where it's like, here comes Final Fantasy VII Remake, Play Anywhere, 16, Play Anywhere. New game from Square Enix, like fresh release. Here's Final Fantasy Tactics. It's not Play Anywhere. And there's a dozen examples like that throughout this year. It's just the one we always go back to. And when you're saying like, this is how we play now, it's like, oh, dude, like take care of your own kitchen first, though. Like I can't play that way yet. Or when they even do the very famous, this is an Xbox. It is meme worthy, but to their credit, it's caught on. It's a thing now. It's deeply associated with their brand. And yes, it's used mostly to jab at them, but it's resonated, and I think in a way that makes sense. But when this is an Xbox is ongoing and you're launching the Xbox Ally and you're like, hey, this is an Xbox. And it's like, well, this is a PC, and full screen is like halfway there right now where it will be an Xbox. And it feels like a lot of their marketing statements would be better if they already had all of this going. And so when they come out and they talk to us and they go, again, I know they're not saying it's, but it's the tone and the delivery style of like, we get it, you don't, and this is where we're going. That is what makes it all frustrating, because again, nothing's feeling like it's ready for the things you're saying. And, you know, to balance it out, at least Matt Booty had a great quote this year, right? That like the primary competition is like TikTok and that sort of stuff. Like, I think that's true. I think that's a good quote. Like, that's a good vision to have. Like, hey, we're not just competing with PlayStation. It's not just the big boys out there in the games industry. It's not even TV and movies. It's like your phone, dude. And we got to get you off your phone and picking up a controller. How do we do that? And I think that's like the right mindset, is like, how do we get them into the game? So that was the one that really stood out to me on everything on my list here. Obviously, there's ones that got me more angry. But for me, that's like the year in a nutshell, is this sort of like death of the brand through what looked like ignorance. Even if, like you mentioned, there is some clairvoyance in some of it, it is the way it's communicated, that has continued to be terrible. And I'm not, as you know, in all of that, I never once mentioned Phil Spencer quote aging poorly, because it's beyond that point now of like bad communication. It's almost leveled up. So that was the big one for me that really stood out.
No, I got you. I'll add on to that. Mine's is also in conjunction with that messaging. Mine's is actually beta testing the Xbox OEM hardware and the Xbox full screen experience. Because as much as I love the ROG Ally, like I've been the champion of the device before Xbox even got involved, you know, I said, okay, that's the future. I want native. I want all the storefronts. I don't want to be locked into Steam. I don't want to have the anti-cheat and all that stuff. I want to be able to play all my games. You know, it is fair to say you cannot launch a device that has bugs or it's not a clean experience when you just spent $1,000. Right? You spent $1,000. You want them buttons to click. You want them UIs to respond. You want all those things to be the natural experience of a premium device that you pay for. Yeah. So as much as I am a tech, I have an unfair advantage over the casual guy that's like, yo, I can't do a simple thing. Now, granted, there's been tons of updates. You've been improving. Sure. I'm talking about at what you launched at. What you launched at is still... It's where you're aspiring to be something, but you're not there at launch. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the thing with them, that, you know, it has to improve. I get it. You know, you know that the competition in Steam OS is there, and you know that you're not ready for prime time. Thus, you're not going to jump in feet first with your own thing, and you're going to partner with Asus. Okay, fine. But my thing is, you've got to launch at a part where that thing is clean. Like, you know, I'm just talking about just moving around and the like experience of just, you know, going between, you know, all right, now I have the ROG Armory Crate, but now I got to get the updates here. And you know what I'm saying? Like 3 different, I got to go to the Windows Store, and, you know, where was the consolidation? All of this stuff should have been. So it just showed me that you did kind of rush this out a bit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And in fairness, you know, it's not fair to that. So look, I know they've improvement since, but I got to give them smoke on that part. Like, there was it's still a way that it could be should have been done better. You know what I'm saying? As far as I'm concerned. So yeah, we should be beta testing for you. That's like Insider Hub energy is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. That's stuff I do in Insider Hub, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then I give you the feedback. Yo, this doesn't work. Did you check this out? Did you know? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Next on my list is eager price hikes. I use the term eager because it's really not the Look, every company's getting crammed by these RAM prices right now. I'm talking really before that. I'm talking about the citing of economic conditions, macroeconomic conditions, industry trends, those sorts of things. The real big one that stands out to me is, of course, the $80 game price hike. They saw Nintendo do it, and it was this like, I'm trying to find the perfect analogy, right? But just like this overeager, like, oh, is it time? Is it time? Can we get in there? Can we do it? Like, can we really get, like, they're ready to get in the fight, right? They're so fucking ready to charge you $80. And they're like, Outer Worlds 2, 80. I'm like, holy shit, dude, settle the fuck down. Like when I was a kid, right? I'll say was, but for the point of the conversation, I was extremely energetic, like off the walls, energetic. Give me some sugar. I'm annoying. I'm bouncing off the walls. And it's like, you just want to grab me and just be like, dude, settle the fuck down. That was Xbox. They're like, oh my God, 80? Really? Off the walls. And it's like, I just want to grab and be like, calm down. Who do you think you are? Two things that really rubbed me the wrong way with this. One, you put one of your premium studios in a terrible spot. And I think really set off a chain reaction. The marketing for the game wasn't great.
Right.
But we're in a day and age where, like, once you get on that back foot, it's very easy to whoop, down you go. And Outer Worlds 2 is a perfect example of that. It is so much better than any of their recent RPGs, but no one's played it, or it feels like no one's played it.
Feels like it. Yeah.
The conversation around it, I felt, should have been bigger. There have been more people playing it on Steam, and I know Game Pass is a factor, but it's a shame, right? That put that game in a bad position, and it became a big talking point about it more than the game itself and the exciting things that it was doing, including on our own show. The other thing was just when they rationalized the flipping of that price. It started off as, we're raising the price because of economic conditions. And then they knocked it down, tried to frame it like, yeah, this is great news. We're going to $70. Like Obsidian's posting these GIFs of like punching corporatism in the face and whatnot. I'm like, okay, like your own boss. And then, they're like, yeah, the reason we changed these prices again is in response to economic conditions. And then they move their hardware prices up in response to economic conditions. And no doubt there's been a lot of uncertainty this year, tariffs, again, OpenAI buying up all the RAM, jacking up these hardware prices. Like it's been tough. I don't envy these companies that have had to navigate this. And it's taken a lot of like good leadership to weather these storms and be ahead of curves and like catching wind of news. And I think of Lenovo, where certainly not a perfect company, but like getting in ahead of the RAM rush and being like, they are apparently stocked until all throughout next year because they were ahead of the game on that. And like, that's really good shit, because they'll get under that price shock and people might be drawn to their products now more so. But Xbox's handling of just pricing this year was so, we don't care. And I think there's no better sign of that than what we just came off of with Black Friday and COG. I know we're recording our usual show after this, but you saw the third best-selling game console hardware thing during Black Friday.
I had to research what that was. I didn't even know what it was.
Dude, so if anyone wants a deep cut and they're listening to this and they just want to like see something a little funny real quick, go to the Summon Sign episode with myself, Hogue, and Brad that just came out in December. I did not know this. Brad breaks the news. And it is the most
of course Brad breaks the news.
Yeah. Well, Brad loves the. Okay, so Brad and I was trying to move on from an Xbox conversation. Brad goes, "No, Maddie, I'm going to twist the knife. Like, how about that?" I sincerely think Brad does like to see me get worked up over this shit.
Yes.
But I try to like keep it cool because it's his show. Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to hijack it.
Brad got a little instigated G to him, like,
yeah, he's got like a tiny, like he's such a good chill, like Brad, cool guy. He's got the cool guy gene, but there's a little bit of him that's like, I know what knob to turn on this dude. And boy, was he doing it that show. So then he lays out these stats. I'm like, what the fuck? What's the next? Like this, I call it the next gen iToy, like that's what it is. So I think that was the cherry on top at that point to everything I laid out here, right? They get over ambitious with these prices. They're eager. They're like, can we jump it? They do. And it ends in what I do think is something kind of humiliating. I think Xbox should have enough appeal to sell it. Yes, I know it's a $250 device or whatever, I think it has enough appeal and enough games, enough content to outsell this device. But clearly I am dead wrong and don't know what I'm talking about. But to me, it really comes back to that level of eager price hiking, of being very disconnected from what your audience wants and kind of showing a flippant behavior toward hardware. At least, again, that's how it comes off of like, well, we're done with this. Like, buy it if you want. Like, we're not producing anymore. You're not getting a sale during Black Friday. Like, figure it out.
No sale.
Yeah, no sale on Black Friday. Like, we want top dollar for this. It just feels like a relationship where you're so distant from that significant other. It's like, who are you anymore? Like, you don't even care about Black Friday? What self-respecting company doesn't care about Black Friday?
That's interesting.
They did a lot of software sales, but no hardware. Very strange, because my thought process is, of course, if they buy through your storefront, you still benefit. Like, don't you want to just, I thought they would go for the deepest discount because it's like, get rid of this shit, right? Like, let's just
get them out of here.
Yeah, get them out of here. Like, we don't need any more of these, especially with the way it seems like generations are going to really carry over in 2027. Like, buying a Series X now, I don't know if it's a great idea, but I'm saying if you had that, you would be taken care of, I think, into beyond 2027. So, I'm rambling, but yeah, the eager price hikes, the economic conditions, and sort of how they've distanced themselves from their own fan base has been really, really strange to see. And so that's one of my big disappointments this year.
Well said. One of mine, man, these Xbox layoffs, man. These are brutal. Obviously, as Lord Acquisition, I always understand the downsides of acquisition. And the downside of it is obviously seeing when you have the ABK layoffs, the ZeniMax layoffs, the Bethesda layoffs, and it doesn't stop. And what we're hearing now is, I don't know if you saw the latest Windows Central article as of recording, and Satya's comments potentially about being more efficient. The word on the street is brace up for more, right? And that to me is such a concern. And it's concern from two levels. One, as a person who loves games and game projects that you hear about, that you're like, man, that couldn't get off the ground, that couldn't come out. But more importantly is I'm concerned that when you have these level of layoffs, there's a certain mentality now from shareholders in corporate, which is like, we're focused on bigger and better only. Now, the positives of it, you like more Fallout, right? More Elder Scrolls, or more, like more of the big franchises that get a priority. But you are concerned for the compulsions with the South of Midnight, the Ninja Theories with the Hellblade 2, the Double Fines with the Keepers. Do those fit in a world where layoffs and cutting back and efficiency through profitability and focusing on blockbuster is the focus? And, I think that is something to be concerned about. And I think, to me, the number one thing that is very disappointing, especially as a person who loves to interview developers, is when you lose luminaries in the industry. This is foundational, generational knowledge that cannot be replaced. When they are gone, and then some of them, let's be honest, are not fortunate or lucky to be like, we're going to create Studio B and come up with Exodus or whatever, I'm saying? A lot of, that's it. Some of them is just like, okay, I'm taking my bag, I'm running, that's it. I'm done. Yeah. I've given my all because I'm disenchanted, now kind of thing. And even with the, they gave them a parachute with craft on and stuff like that. But even that, not everyone made the parachute. Some people were out. And also, now you underneath the ownership that you may not be able to do certain things and stuff like that. So I just worry about these Xbox layoffs in the future of game development for them. And I got another reason why I'm scared, but that bothers me because I really respect these OGs. That it's like when they replaced it, there's a whole now group of people that just don't know how to do things that these people have, this accumulated knowledge. If you watch Transformers, like they got this thing called the Matrix of leadership, right? It's the accumulated knowledge of all the leaders of former Autobots and stuff like that. These are people who've been through the wars, who understand game development on the purest level. When they're gone and this thing is empty, and you got people now that's going to be new, that's going to be making the same mistakes that these guys could have already figured. You know what I mean? Like, that's foundational knowledge. And I'm concerned about that. So, yeah, layoffs do bother me. And they've had a ton.
Yeah. Industry leaders.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that because one of the items on my list says gutting of their teams.
Yeah.
You really hit a home run there, and I'll just try to follow it up by only saying that, like, I look at Bethesda as a perfect example, right? When they got them back in 2021, it was a moment of like stabilization for Bethesda. That was why I was optimistic for that. I'll admit I was foolishly optimistic about Activision, but I don't think my optimism for Bethesda was misplaced because Bethesda was in a rough state heading into Xbox. Like they're coming off 76 as the last BGS game. They're coming off of focusing on mobile more than ever. Like here's Elder Scrolls Blades, but nothing about Elder Scrolls 6 yet. Here's Wolfenstein Youngblood. Like all of their single player teams had recently fired out multiplayer misses, and Xbox came in as someone who's worked with Bethesda very extensively, has had done good work with them, was effectively like, hey, it's a good partnership. This makes sense. And obviously at the time, at least, and Phil said it as much, they were looking for great exclusives, And so this was, I think, something that made a lot of sense for them. You give some stability and some bigger budgets to some of the biggest icons in gaming. Shinji Mikami, Harvey Smith, of course. I mean, Todd Howard's never had a problem with a budget, but, throw him on that list. Like, you got three legends there that have helped shape gaming under your roof. Not to mention one of the biggest MMOs from Elder Scrolls Online and Matt Firer. And, the list goes on. You have luminaries that were rising in John Johannes, who directed Evil Within 2 and now famously Hi-Fi Rush. And it's just an exciting thing to wonder like what he's doing next. You have all of this talent, and all that's left from the names I just mentioned is Todd.
Yeah.
And that's tough to kind of reckon with because it, at least in my experience, and it's not everything, it's just anecdotal, one person can make all the difference in your project. Like there are people, we're a small team in our case, so obviously every contribution matters significantly. But the thought that does keep me up at night with a lot of our teammates is like, if they walked, what the fuck do I do?
Bro.
And that is exponential, I think, on a AAA level, because these are people that have been there, done that. So there's that veteran leadership, of course, and that helps a lot in shipping games, no doubt, is like the process, the structure, deadline setting, making sure it's realistic, that kind of stuff. But it's also like rethinking gaming. What's that going to be? Bringing attractive games out to your platform. And obviously taking care of these people who have made these companies worth investing in at all. Now, to, I guess, be fair, if you will, in the gutting that happened toward the end of the summer this year, Firer did choose to leave. Right. But that was, as it was written and documented online, more of like I'm choosing to go because you're doing this to the rest of my team. So I know for a lot of people, it's not like what happened with like Harvey Smith, where his studio got shut down. Yeah. Right. And he was out. I know it's different, but the reality is that Xbox has done a really bad job holding on to their talent. And I imagine if someone like Todd Howard wasn't so foundational to Bethesda Game Studios, like everything runs through this guy. And if it weren't the case, I feel like he probably would want to dip soon too. There are, to be fair, people who really like working with Xbox. When I interviewed Brian Fargo, that was one of the first people I've spoken to, was like, yeah, dude, it's awesome. Like, he talked in my interviews, like, my non-compete expired years ago. He's like, I really think they do a good job. They get us. But I think Xbox works best with studios that are very responsible, like an Exile or an Obsidian, where they're like, yeah, they're great. It's like, yeah, because you do your part, guys. Like,
yeah, that part. Cool Uncle. Cool Uncle works for that.
Yeah, Cool Uncle does work for that. But to my original point here, and really what you were saying, Bethesda is a great example of how much truly got lost there. And this does carry over to Call of Duty, where like when they first got Activision, the directorial positions were getting cut, that sort of thing. And it's just,
we lose Ferguson too.
Yes, Ferguson's a huge one. It's a tremendous level of loss on leadership talent. Obviously, junior levels can be, I mean, this with all due respect to any junior level talent listening, but they're replaceable to an extent where they're kind of supposed to be fostered and trained, and they become your seniors, your new leaders. So there is a level of that where it's like, okay, if those are the talents that were going, that's still shitty, but at least you can kind of say, I held on to the key pieces that you
Mhm.
build around, right? Like your Juan Soto's in your lineup, like the player you build around. When you remove that from the equation, I mean, I think this year more than ever, the similarities between sports and video games has been so clear to me. It's like the team effort and like how that comes together. And when you don't have key pieces like that, what a studio loses. And you can feel that. Like there are luminaries, there are auteurs, if you want to call them that. And they are necessary because the vision has to be strong. And also when they carry that social cachet and you go to the negotiating room, what a lot of people don't have is leverage. And by that, I don't mean like blackmail, but connections,
right?
Personal ties. These things I've learned in my rounds of pitching matter. And I don't mean it from like a success story, like people know me, but I've gotten my foot in a couple of doors because people did know me, where I've been able to have conversations that definitely indies who are just pitching raw for the first time do not get that. And there is a level of like, that's fucking crazy, dude. And some people I've talked to are like, yeah, we actually have a great relationship with this company. And like, because we're friends with their president. So like, we actually get to pitch your game to that person directly now. So it's like nepotism.
It is in a way, right?
I say all of that because certain projects that could never be greenlit can happen with those types of people. And that's why they're like the championed developers, and why when Xbox loses them, it's why I treat it as significantly as I do, because it's not just I'm angry, you're Jobs. It's like it's like
you gotta say it like that. I'm angry, Jobs.
Like people are like they're gonna go hungry. It's like no shit, dude. Like of course, but beyond that, it's also the games and like the impact on the studio and the relationships that are there, and like no one's asking for free handouts, but it's like a complete dismantling of the fabric of the very thing you invested in. So now I wonder what Arcane's putting up. Bethesda's output this year has been really bad for me personally. It was particularly Bethesda Game Studios, but you can trust in machine games. It seems still very trustworthy, but there's a level of like, man, I wonder how these teams are going to fare without those types of leaders. It's probably changes we won't feel for another couple of years, but when that starts to settle in, what is that going to be like? And I'm not super optimistic about it because they've lost, like they were very fortunate to inherit that kind of talent when they purchased it and that they stuck around. But to not hold on to it at all costs, I don't think is great game development. That does not foster a good gaming culture. And that's the other thing, right? Is like
culture.
People like the roof over your head's about to collapse. You're just looking up every time, like, is it sky falling? Like, and like, I don't think that's good. What they've done this year, I don't think is good for their teams. Just sort of how they feel can you be creative in that environment?
Right.
It's tough.
Exactly. No, it's tough. It's tough. And sometimes you lose what I consider these luminaries, or if you want to use a sports analogy, the glue guys or the closers, right? The ones that get things done. And
we did lose a closer today, Cog. I'm sure you said.
I
thought that choice of words was intentional.
I did. It came across my line with the Edwin Diaz thing. I don't know what the hell's going on. Stearns, I am looking at you a little sideways. You got a lot to prove to me this season. This is the first time I'm kind of betraying the boy genius a little bit. He got to prove to me. But anyway, back on focus.
He did offer, they were $3 million short. So I think Edwin did choose to leave.
He chose the money, but I just hate the Dodgers, bro. Oh,
I know. That was the only thing that almost cost them the World Series was their offense was there. Their pitching was insane. It was their relief pitching. And it's like, oh, you guys get the best closer in baseball now.
Yeah, now thanks for us. What pissed me off is we had that. But anyway, we gonna get back on. But the sports analogy is real. Just to answer, I agree. I agree with that. I'm going to piggyback for my next one.
Sure.
Into that, which is actually kind of leads me into what I was going to say. Because, look, for me, a major blow was the closing of Initiative. It's like that did not sit well with me as much as I am a fan of the few things that current leadership does as far as retaining some gaming sensibilities, as far as fighting against the machine that is Microsoft gaming, when we now know the information that is out there as far as the pressure that is on them to be profitable. I am sorry. Like, this is your studio that you created, right? And you trusted, you had Daryl Gallagher, you had the who's who in game development signing up to be part of this project, and Perfect Dark was the thing, right? So you're like, okay, cool. This starts off cool. You like the way this sounds. We're not going to mention how many A's you used in the resume. Fine. But at the end of the day, this was an all-star level of accumulated talent.
Yeah.
Then we start hearing the rumblings. Oh, Luminary B is out. Luminary C is out. Like, what? Like, why are all these people leaving? Right? Is this a Daryl Gallagher thing? Is it what's going on? Right? That was the first bit of rumblings. Then here comes the gang of guys with the Crystal D shirts. Hey, we're here. We're from Embracer. We're now in charge of this thing. So we raised the eyebrow because we're like, okay, this is a major shift. We've rarely seen this. And then they got Embracer. I mean, they got Crystal Dynamics from Embracer, which is very weird. We're like, okay, well, maybe this is Daryl Gallagher getting to do things the way he wants to do them. And he's from Crystal Dynamics. This is the culture that he needs. Okay, fine, let's see. Then we see the game. We go, okay, they're on point, this, that, and the third. Just to hear this thing, not only the project canceled, the studio shut down. I am sorry. Like, at the end of the day, this is an egregious stain because this is something you are the parent of. You know what I'm saying? Like, you birthed this. You're proving to me that you cannot raise your own child. When you bring in or you buy someone, right? You can cool uncle them, and that's cool, right? And some obviously have been neglected and they need a little bit more love. But I can't forgive the current leadership for a studio that they created and then they closed. That is just egregious. So that one really sickened me, and it just gives me that bad parenting vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just, look, I know historically they are not the game creator type. So they just don't have it. But what I was hoping that this studio announcement did was to change that narrative to say, hey, we're investing, bro. Like, we are not only investing, we've got key talent. We're building something special. Think about this, man. Think about how positive it would have been if Perfect Dark released. It was an 85 plus meta game from Xbox's own studio that they created. Yeah. Think about the conversation that creates, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely opens the door. That's the big problem with this year, is a level of, like, between the hardware and then something like that is kind of just letting go of those aspirations. Like, I feel this is going to get deep. I feel a lot of people grow up with big dreams, right? I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Realism starts to kick in, and the easier choice sometimes is just to go to school and work a 9 to 5. And I think that's kind of what this was, the 9 to 5 of Xbox this year, is sort of how I think about it. Kind of the simplism. This is the easier road, the road more traveled. And,
right.
And I think about that a lot. I'm like, that laying down of not doing anything with the initiative. I get it was slow moving. I know it's easy for me to say from the outside looking in that it was probably worth sticking with, but I just think the optical loss of that was as significant for the hardcore, at least, as what it was for beyond the hardcore with what they're doing with their consoles now. Like, I think it just showed, like, you guys can't build and make your own games. You have to buy them. And that's a terrible look for people you're trying to hire, by the way. That's
something I have to live with as an honest reflection of a brand that I love. It's, not being able to internally cultivate something, to grow something on your own. Right. You don't have that. And on top of that, we're fresh off the Halo Infinite debacle. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, again, this is the reason why your company is even taken serious in the gaming space. Right. Is that title put you on the map. And then for you to now, we've said this ad nauseum. Could you imagine Nintendo letting Mario bungle out the door, in a very incomplete state with features missing? And this is supposed to showcase what it means to be Xbox. That's why I fell in love with the brand. It's on my birthday. You know what I'm saying? That was the term. Remember the term killer app? It's associated with that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So this to me, the initiative thing, I'll be honest, that really hurt me. I was just like,
That one stunk.
Didn't like that one. Yeah, so
I
I got a couple more, but
yeah,
we move on. I had to get that one off.
that's kind of a good little segue for me because I have a particular game in mind that obviously the delivery of it when we record this, we don't know what it's going to look like outside of a couple of things. But I think the Fable delay was kind of the tone setter for the year. And I found that to be not like a worst thing they've done this year, as in, why didn't you release it this year? But I found it really disappointing that we continue to have, at least at the time of recording, nothing on Fable. This feels like the next big one for them. Like, obviously, there are going to be games that sell really well for them. I think Horizon 6 is going to do crazy numbers for them. But I feel for the hardcore, this is like the one thing beyond Elder Scrolls 6 that we're looking at going, can they do it? And I just feel the continuous silence, and we're delaying it, and there's just no updates whatsoever on this game. I'm just really hoping it's worth it, because as someone who, I remember when I think it was Eurogamer first dropped the leak/rumor, it was like 2017. This road has been as long as the initiative in a funny way. Like, it has been just forever that they've been building up and working on Fable. And I wouldn't say I'm concerned yet, but it's one of those things where if like we get past the developer direct to the top of next year and we don't see it, I am shooting every signal flare into the sky and being like, I want my announcement now that I'm seeing it in the summer at the very least, man. Because what I would be chill about is that but I can't yet, is everything they've shown of the game, at least for me, has not said Fable yet. Setting wise, sure. Kicking a chicken at the end of the trailer, sure. But it's the morality. It's the real humor, the dialogue. It's, of course, things like the life sim elements, those components that make Fable, the music, for the love of God, the music.
Oh, yeah.
It's those things that really make Fable Fable. And even in its earliest points, they just haven't shown those things. And so I found the delay to be this sort of like, again, tone setter to start this year. Not where at that moment I went, everything's going to feel like it's falling apart soon. But when you look at it, it was like the first major thing that happened this year where it's like, well, they at the top of the year moved it out of this year. Like they were not even, I think it was January or February. It's like, we're not even out of the first quarter of the year. And you're like, it's not happening this year. I was like, what's, I was like, what's going on then? So I did find that, especially when you and I were going in, and I'll blame myself partially of expectations that I set for myself. Yeah, but like, part of it. I remember going in being like, yeah, it's just the year we're finally going to see Fable. This is going to be the sick developer direct game. And I think our gut was correct, because I don't think the plan was the Obsidian double feature, though they did a great job with it. I do think that it was going to be Fable slot, but it just wasn't ready. And you could just, again, like feel the anticipation. Where people really want to see this thing. And I just hope it's worth all this time, because it's getting to that point where I think even people like me who are kind of down on Xbox have been very patient and are like, they seem very excited about this, so I will give them the benefit of the doubt. But we're getting to that point of like, okay, fam, what's going on with this thing? So especially not their worst, not the worst sin they've committed this year, but definitely like, I'm very eager for this game, because if it looks great, I'll be so up their ass about it. You know, I love Fable. So I hope it's great. I hope it's worth all this time.
I agree. Good call out. I think that's more than fair, especially moment to moment gameplay, which we have yet to see, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to the quick cut and all these dope graphics and cinemas and stuff. So yeah, Playground, they got a lot on there. They're playing. I'm with you. All right. So this one is pretty obvious. So we got to say it. Just pricing yourself out. You know, you've kind of alluded to it, but it's just like, you know, as a person who loves console gaming, and we talked about the Black Friday thing, which is hilarious, right? We talk about that, but like, we get the macroeconomics and all that, but it's just like, how come you're not prepared, right? So to me, it's just like, you have a level of, I don't care if they don't buy the hardware. You have a level of, I think the ultimate thing was when we saw the Game Pass Ultimate increase.
It's like they're trying to be a bad boy. You know what I'm talking about? They're trying to be a bad boy about it. Like, yeah, like, you know, like in like high school, there was always that like, yeah, don't give a fuck, like the cool demeanor dude. Yeah. Like, I don't care about anything. Yeah, I got to see on the test, whatever. You know? Whatever. Yeah. I get that vibe from them. They're trying to be cool. They're trying to be cool.
bro, like this is a different look. Like I'm just like I'm like who are these dudes? Like because my thing is this. Like one thing you could always count on as an Xbox fan, you go, but that Game Pass though, bro. You know what I'm saying? You
How
like
we got on this long not talking about that,
right? So I'm like, you be like, yo, everything's crazy. They messed that, they fumbled that, but that rake hit, okay. But that Game Pass, whatever happened, we ain't get. You literally had the undisputed best deal in gaming, and it wasn't even close. Yeah. Now you done jumped the price up to the point where people are like, bro, like
yes, plus hello.
Yeah, like you done made yourself more than most. I can't think of any other subscription service that's that price or higher, to be honest, that I'm paying for. Yeah. And the only reason why I had to do the math, I pull out my spreadsheet. Okay, did I buy this? Did I buy that? Okay, all right. All this did make sense. Okay, cool. I would have spent wild more bread if I wasn't, but I am not the average person. Also, let's be real. Like people buying 1 or 2 games a year. You know what I'm saying? For the most part. So, and we're content creators. So I have a completely different skew and demographic of the normal gamer. So yeah, it's just like I see this stuff and I'm just like, it is we're doing what we're doing. You better be lucky that we still here kind of energy, because if it was up to certain people, we probably would have pulled the plug on this thing. So that's the energy I get. So on one point, yeah, I'm thankful that you exist. Of course, I'm always going to say that part, but I'm not going to sit there and sugarcoat. Like what pays me is we have our long net meetings, right? It was a gaming net meeting. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna call them out, but like, you know what I mean? Some of my brothers are like, yo, God, I had to sell that bad boy. Like I cannot afford like to be rocking. Like I had to get a PlayStation because they pricing me out, bro. Like I can't. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. And then it's like, okay, well, if the games are gonna come over to PlayStation or PC anywhere, people are like, yo, I just keep my PC. I don't matter. Like, yeah, I'm PC gaming. I'm master racing right now. You know what I'm saying?
I am master racing, bro. It's
like, I get it. Here. I get it. And ultimately, they don't care because they're like, great, go over there. You know what I'm saying? But it just bothers me who loves the platform and the brand. And so like you go, when you see a Black Friday, there's no sale on the hardware. Damn, you really don't care. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's just that realization that the pricing themselves out of the casual fan. And I'm just like, man, you could transition, but why you gotta do it like this? So yeah, that was, I got one more, but that's a high up there for me.
My last one on the list that comes to mind here. It's funny. I actually didn't have Game Pass on my list. I think there's this part of my brain that's just accepted like, yeah, that's just like an awful fucking thing. Do I really need to say anything? But yeah, like the Game Pass price hike, I'll just add on to what you said there is that was painful because like, I think PS Plus is a competitive service. When Game Pass was at its best, I was like, I see why PlayStation fans like this. And to their credit, they've done a good job adding like more day one PS Plus games. The classics library is the thing I sing the praises about the most. But at the same time as Xbox moving their prices up, PlayStation holds and then adds this whole new feature suite for the portal with like just, you don't even need to own a PS5. You can just stream your games to that device. And now suddenly PlayStation's on par with Xbox in streaming capability. They're on par with Xbox, beating Xbox in the subscription business. Xbox Game Pass definitely pushes more higher quality day one titles, in my opinion. But if you take a scroll through PS Plus, man, that library is fucking insanely good. There's a lot of games in there. And so what's frustrating about the Game Pass price hike beyond the obvious of like, yeah, man, I want this to be affordable, is that Xbox kind of leveled their own competition up throughout this generation, where I don't think PlayStation's had this impossibly good generation like they did with PS4. The PS5 generation was beatable, is how I would define it. If we're talking about, again, sports, it's a beatable team winning a championship. It's like, they weren't like, the Dodgers. It was like, oh my God, they had everyone. They're really tough to topple. It was like, yeah, they had their misses. They had bad business decisions. They had colossal failures like, Concord. There were so many places where Xbox could have taken that step forward. And the problem is that it's in these moments like Game Pass where it's just like PlayStation got to sit there like this, wake up on a Tuesday morning and be like, oh shit, everyone's subscribing to our service. Jim, did you run the promo? You didn't.
Did you run the
What
promo?
happened? And they go on Twitter and they see like Phil's response on Twitter. They're like, oh, yo, did you guys see this? Like, that's how it went down, man. And they're like, damn, we're balling out. We didn't have to do shit.
Yeah, we had to. That's been the thing. We don't have to do that. They're going to do some foolishness for us.
Yeah. They're like, yo, wait till they see when we had this streaming update for like 2 months from now. We didn't think shit about it, but like, this is be amazing now. That's the vibe that they've created, right? Like, it's like, and I just think that is how I feel about Game Pass. It's price up. It's just that driving your competition up. Now, for the last one on my list here,
what you got?
I don't think I have any long diatribes on it because it's just such a broad topic, but it is that it's also submitting concern before it really starts to cement itself in gaming. Microsoft's push for AI and Xbox's push for Copilot with gaming, and how we flirted with the idea of a Copilot button, and I don't know how you get away with all these ideas they have for voice commands and asking for walkthroughs and tips, if not for holding a button and talking into it and having a prompt be submitted and boom, there's what you're looking for. Obviously, there's concerns on how they've sort of pushed this as a company beyond Xbox and how it's going to bleed into their other developers. Phil, to his credit, has said it's not mandated. I have said this before. I believe Phil on this. I think Phil Spencer does understand what his teams need because he's the cool uncle boss. Like, he's easy breezy. Like, yeah, why the fuck would we use AI, guys? What is that shit? Am I right? But Satya and Amy Hood do not care about that with their 30% profit margins. You will cut costs. You will replace developer work with AI where it makes sense. We don't need humans doing QA anymore. We don't need junior level talent doing art. We need prompts. And guess what? Microsoft is, at least as we record right now, just in that hardcore race trying to lead AI. Like, they're fully in on that gold rush. And I think people are kidding themselves if they don't think this is going to bleed into the studios. Because I do sincerely believe Phil. I just don't think it's going to last long. And especially when we were invited at the top of this year to a little behind this closed doors presentation that we were able to talk about then on sort of like what they were thinking with Copilot for gaming. And what I've learned with Xbox is initially when those things happened, it was like, oh, they're collecting feedback. I'm going to give it to them, see what they do. I've reached the acceptance phase of when they present this. It's not like a, hey, what do you think, guys? Like, what? It's more like, we're doing this.
Yes.
Deal with it. Let's put it out gently and nicely. Like, we might change something, but we're probably not because, they have upgraded the ROG Ally through AI on a hardware front. And notably so, which is great. But then it's like, are you suddenly going to be like, well, we don't want post-game analysis for our Overwatch matches through AI. It's like, well, their rationale will always be someone will, and we made a platform for everyone. And that's the concern I have with AI and Copilot and its injection in gaming is, again, there are use cases that I go, you get the Maddie thumbs up, Game Pass Recs, Game Recs in general, discoverability, awesome. You want to use AI for, hey, I stopped playing the single player game for a month. I'm back. What was I doing last? Catch me up.
Right.
And just asking it questions and getting totally caught up. Awesome. But it's going to go beyond that in these unpredictable ways because they think it's good for business. I just saw a headline that no one's buying Xbox's AI tools because they're terrible. And this is what happens. Like, they've done it with pretty much anything they've inherited or tried to build themselves where it doesn't work. And then they force it internally to try to make it better and to make it work. And then it ruins the business further. So it's a preliminary concern. Like, right now we're at the cusp of what it could become. It will be a huge factor in their next generation plans. I have no doubt about that.
For sure.
And my submission of concern on this front is simply because people are very anti-AI. I think it's fair to be anti-AI. I also think with this sort of stuff that Xbox is doing, you have to be very careful with how you word it. Because all it takes is, like, I talked about that, premium button. What'd you call it? The C button.
The C button, the Cash App.
The Cash App. There we go. So good.
Yeah, Nintendo got one. It's Cash App button.
Yeah,
no functionality, but to pray for something to get in there and do something.
Exactly. And my worry is Copilot becoming a Xbox subscription feature, not individually, but sort of like what they've done with cloud streaming being rolled into your Game Pass subscription quietly, right? Like that stuff now, Copilot features being rolled in there. And it's like your Copilot button becomes a Game Pass subscription button. Because I do think, I mean, based off the way they kind of got eager about the prices from Nintendo, I think Xbox loves Nintendo's playbook and on the money making front. And I think they like the idea, like, oh, chat button, eh? Oh, like making sure that your subscribers are on your platform, or I'm sorry, your users on your platform are locked into a subscription. Sounds great to me. Constant reminder to buy something. I mean, if you bought it, it would be a button. So yeah, I just I have my concerns on that. That would be the one I would close out on. It's not anything I'm angry about yet, but like I could see this going south real fast.
No, it's fair. I like your terminology, preliminary concern as far as, and cautionary, because, we know the slippery slope of where that can go. Yes, as a person who loves tech, I love trying out new things. I love seeing new things, but it is fair to say, like, okay, how much does this influence game development? How much does this take away jobs? How much, you know what I mean? There's a lot to this, you know what I'm saying? Even development tools and the sanctity of, artistry, right? Which is like, voice actors and just creators in general. Where it's like, hey, why don't you just use the tool? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how it goes. Hey, the tool can do that, but not to be totally like, doom and gloom, but like in a separate area. I remember like we were doing something. I think I told you the story, and it came down to like a curriculum or something. And literally teachers were like, yeah, why you try to come up with your own syllabus yourself? Just put that in ChatGPT. I'm like, these are educators telling us this. Yeah. And then go from that. So it is now so incorporated into, the mind frame, and that's just outside of gaming, right? Yeah. So imagine now inside as development, you're making a game and you have a corporation who, let's be honest, right? Their North Star is to push regarding this investment. And, sometimes you could get that soft nudge of, hey, you use the tool. Why don't we try it this way? Why are we doing it this way? Kind of thing. Those are the things, because again, games are just such a different beast. It's a creative field, right? And on the flip side, though, I will say that I will die on this sword. The day that AI does create something hot, gamers are not going to F, and they're going to be like, oh, that joint hot, we don't care. Like, let's just say theoretically, Arc Raiders was the game that was like an AI complete, or like percentage wise was, you know what I mean? That's the worry. And then everyone now plays copycat and tries to, you know what I'm saying? It can get scary. It can get scary.
I'm in the middle on that, because I think you're correct. At the same time, I have talked to a lot of developers, and I was talking with our own team that I think what people crave nowadays in a day and age where it's like, is that real? Or grifters, of course, is like authenticity, like sincerity, truth. And I don't know if that will represent the masses eventually, but I do feel in gaming there is a stronger resistance where I think even if it looks good, there is a level of like people, not on a major level, but a level of people like myself who just probably wouldn't engage, because it is a bit of that. There's no connection. Part of the beauty of art is like, at least for me, I imagine in my head the room they're in making these moments and like the reflection periods. Like that's always what is the randomly generated image in my head.
I get you.
And when it's boiled down to, well, we don't know who did this, just a prompt. I think that rings hollow, even if the game is fire. Like it can be fun, but I wonder if as people are looking for more of that genuine connection in a world that feels increasingly fake, if gaming will be like one of the last lines of defense, basically. Where, I get you. I can see it breaking through in pretty much every other medium, but I feel like gaming is such a particularly intimate hobby that it's very difficult for me to imagine it breaking through on a massive level, or the companies that do try to break through aren't just completely punished by their own audience, whether it be comment section doing its thing, tweets doing its thing, social media sandbagging doing its thing.
Oh yeah, gamers gonna let people know.
Yeah, Steam reviews its thing. Like, let's be honest, bro. If your font isn't blue next to your Steam listing, you are immediately not it. Like when you see that, not like, oh, I'm gonna buy that. There is something psychological about that, and all it takes is nice review bombing for an AI company to just put it right in check. So
no, I feel you. I
think you're right that once it's hot, it'll be a whole different conversation. But I also have this level of hope of like, I think people want something genuine. You know,
I think people gravitate towards what they see and the purity of it. My fear is I hate to label a whole generation, but like I look at like an alpha or something like that. When I look at social media and I look at all the amount of the deep fakes and I look at all the AI created stuff and these kids are having a ball. I'm seeing dudes like 50 Cent, them doing their versions of their songs in the 1950s. And I'm seeing all type of kids, they sending you the new. I don't even mess with that stuff. To me, I'm like, that's sacrilegious. I'm not even doing it. Yeah. And it's just like, I'm just like the level of the desensitized, nature. And I'm just like, okay, now to your point, that's not gaming, but could it translate is where I guess my little fears are, where a younger guy be like, yo, I don't care. This joint's hot. I don't care if we,
Yeah, I feel like what it's going to get to, like if you look at what movie companies are doing right now, or I don't know, like Disney, like they're like, we're going to let you create short content with Disney Plus. And people were like, fuck you. There were people who were like lead directors at their own company being like, pirate my movie, pirate my show. I don't care. Like, it sucks. But now Netflix is buying Warner Bros. And I think they're going to do a similar thing to Disney Plus and be like, yeah, make your own short form content with any of these IP we own. And I think the trajectory for gaming is like, yeah, make your own little game with like, oh, you like Fallout, Maddie? Subscribe to Game Pass or whatever they call that Xbox subscription. And you can make your own little Fallout game because you'll have the rights to our IP or usage of it to make your own little Fallout experience. And I think that sounds like shit because I want someone who's better than me to make a Fallout experience that I can unpack. But I think that is where gaming wants to go. I think it's going to take a little bit longer. But I think if you watch what Disney Plus and Netflix are doing and how people respond to that, it'll be interesting because I think it'll determine what path gaming is on.
Yeah, it's a good call out. So the last one is pretty much the most obvious one. That is my biggest, worst concern. What the hell? Guys, just talk about the elephant in the room. The significant brand damage that they've encountered in 2025. Like, this is the most precipitous fall as a brand. And, I get the whole aggressively becoming the biggest publisher in gaming and still trying to have a console, but you can make the argument you've literally obliterated what it means to be an Xbox fan to the core, right? And what that definition is. And the message in 2025 turned into what you said, which is kind of been like, so aggressive. We know better. This is how you do it. Xboxer. You know what I'm saying? Just all these, and to their credit, it clearly is working because people are talking about it, right? Even if it's negatively, they're talking about it, right? But at the
news, right?
Yeah, you know how that whole expression, right? Any news is good news. But it's just like, this is such an extreme pivot from every year prior. Hey, we did this so you can have exclusive games. Hey, we did this to fill Game Pass. We did this because we cared about you. We know you love the ecosystem. It's such an aggressive pivot. And it's just like, I understand the core sensibility of a guy who feels like, hey, I built the bricks for your brand. I was on the front lines with you when no one cared about you as the second or third place, and I'm there, and now you're telling me none of that matters, and just enjoy the fact, not that we were about taking games from other people, but it is a vast departure, right? From, hey, Starfield, we did this so that you could have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even in the FTC, we saw what the mindset was when the leaks were out. Hey, PlayStation does all this to keep we got to have exclusives because, you know what I'm saying? Like, to be able to compete with them, they do all these things to undercut us, right? So, look, we get it. You're in a world where Microsoft Gaming is here, the Eye of Satya is here, you have these crazy profitability goals, but that still doesn't negate the fact, remember, we are commentators and influencers in the space that understand that does not negate the fact of, Joey Xbox, who was there from shout out to Joey Xbox, bro. He was there from day one. He had his Xbox shirt on. He was throwing it up. You know what I'm saying? He was doing it all for you. And now you telling him, yeah, the game that you liked and you love. Again, I'm not trying to promote tribalism and fanboyism. I'm just trying to tell the reality.
Their copies of Voodoo Vince, bro. They're just like, don't touch my games.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? This is years of programming that, let's be honest, you know what I'm saying, Xbox is responsible for. They created the atmosphere. I remember when Peter Moore came on stage, it was like, tattoo this and we got this and you don't got that. Like they contributed to console war culture. We cannot say that they didn't. So it's at the end of the day, it's like, it's one thing to say, hey, we're shifting, but it's the way you go about it, right?
Yeah.
I could see how it could be, viewed as disrespectful to a hardcore person. And look, we got to be brutally honest. As a person who, loves the platform and, follows it, I look at the analytics. The apathy for the brand is at the all-time low. It's to the and I would speak to people who I know of one. You know what I'm saying? And I would speak to people like I'm very curious. Like with someone, I like to do like what I call like a data study or a field study. Like, hey, why haven't you ever seen you in a while? What's going on? Like, it's just like, look, I just don't like how they moving. They don't speak to me. This doesn't represent what you know what I mean? Like, I rock with y'all, you know what I'm saying? But it's just like,
that's what we get a lot. People like us. They don't like what we have to talk about though.
Think how many defining Duke comments we'll see. Be like, no, I don't even got an Xbox, but the vibe that you and Maddie got, bro, I love to tune in for y'all because y'all some cool people, right? That's something to be said, right? That your brand has fallen to the point. I remember when we first started doing Duke, it was kind of like, yo, I ain't gonna front. You know what I'm saying? Like, I might pick up an Xbox now because of what's going on. I'm listening to y'all. We don't get those comments no more.
Yeah, those write-ins.
Remember those days?
Yeah, you guys convinced me to get an Xbox. Yeah.
Remember those days? Yo, Maddie's face is hilarious right now. But it's true.
Sorry.
Like, it's apathy for the brand. We can't ignore the elephant in the room. And my concern is where I'll wrap it up, is that I get it. You've thrown in the towel. You are no longer competing in the console space. I get it. I mean, right now. But my question is, now that you're making a premium product and you've recommitted to hardware, as you said, what makes you think, especially when you don't do Black Friday sales, you completely like feel like you've just disassociated yourself with the series generation. What makes you think people are going to be care or flock towards your new offering?
Yeah.
How do you approach that mindset? Or you just don't care? And I think that's
I think it's an acceptance of, like, if we use the base of series consoles, like 30 million, right? I think that's the number roughly we've heard, like 33. Right. We'll use 30 as a nice number. I feel like they've come to terms of like, if we get half of that, that's cool. Like, we're good with that.
Yeah.
And so I don't think they particularly mind slaughtering their base because they've set a new floor for themselves. So they're like, we can hit 15 million over time. Like, you know, I don't know if there's a world where, like, I just like image in my head. Someone walking in, fills off the papers and put it in front of him. He's like, sales for you, sir. You know, this is the new Xbox.
Sales for you, sir.
And he's like looking at it. He's like, wow, this is worse than I could have ever expected. You know, like, he's like, damn, this shit sucks. Like, I don't know if there's a level where they're like, yeah, the hardware is not doing well. Like, what are we going to do? Right. Or if they've just kind of accepted it's done and 15 million tops is great next generation. And there's no like, well, because we did this, we're going to springboard into that. Like, I always wonder in this world, like, if we pulled the most elaborate prank, right? The most expensive imaginable prank, everyone goes out and just fucking buys the new Xbox, right? And just, Magnus is the wave. It outsells Switch, it outsells PlayStation. Does Xbox suddenly start going, you know, like, we're going to champion, you know, but play anywhere? Like, it's like, what's the vibe then? I was like, we could flip this around if we just gave them a little money, man.
I know. Look, hey, I hear what you say. The only thing I can think of is, it reminds me of like that thing where it's like, okay, yeah, they're going to leave. We don't care. But if we got 15 million, but they paying that $1,000, it worked out. Because, you know what I'm saying? Looking at, we got less people. We're making more money because of the price they pay. We ain't taking no loss on the whole. And there's a part of me that
mental gymnastics.
Yeah, the shareholder energy, you know what I'm saying, kind of thing. And that's my big concern. I do feel, you know, I'll close it with this. I do feel that there are people in the building that whenever you see something that reminds you of an Xbox game sensibility, that it's still there, but ultimately it's being snuffed out by the 30% or whatever that number that we remember. What was it that came out?
30% margin. Yep.
Yeah, so that's what it is. And I try to talk about that's the elephant in the room. And I always will be honest about that part.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Cog, my list is empty. Is yours?
Same, mine's is empty.
All right. Yeah, it's been a productive conversation on Xbox's 2025, trying to put it in a nutshell as best we can. But yeah, it's been eventful. And look, I am not fooling myself, as we'll talk about looking into 2026. I think next year will be just as eventful. But they do have a very interesting lineup already teed up with Fable, Forza, Gears, Halo, like just Xbox 10 pulls across the board. Clockwork, throw it in there. State of Decay, why not throw that in there? Because so we'll discuss that in our next episode, no doubt. But ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed this breakdown of everything Xbox, and we look forward to getting your thoughts. We don't do hashtags for these holiday episodes because we're usually pretty offline. So stay offline with us. Listen to the show and then carry on with your day. We'll catch you with all the hashtags for the rest of 2026. But Cog, any final thoughts?
No, that's a good one, man. I love these. Reminds me of Divided Duke Ultimate Energy.
Yeah, true. Just picking at the same topic. Yes. Every little crumb that we can get out of it. Got to wring it dry. But ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed, and we'll be back next week with episode 261. I hope I'm not mathing wrong, or I'm really doubling down on some bad episode numbers here. I'll hear it in the comments, no doubt.
Other
than that, though, we'll catch you next week. Peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.